Hey CSC 458. Bob here. Let's talk about TCP congestion control. But first we have to ask, what is TCP? TCP, short for Transmission Control Protocol, specifies how devices exchange data over the internet to one another. It also ensures reliable transmissions of data, as opposed to another protocol you may have heard of, UDP, which does not offer reliability. But how can we guarantee that the receiver always receives all data from the sender? To help with the explanation, we can use table tennis as an analogy. Imagine the player as the receiver, the coach as the sender, and the ping-pong balls as packets of data. When a sender uses TCP to send data to the receiver, the sender expects an acknowledgement back from the receiver. Similarly, when the coach feeds a ball to the player, he expects the player to return the ball. If the sender does not receive the acknowledgement within a certain period of time, known as the timeout, the sender will assume the data is lost during transmission and will retransmit the data. But how do packets get lost in the first place? One of the causes is congestion. Congestion happens when there is high traffic in the network. Similar to the traffic in downtown Toronto on a Friday evening. The network is congested when there are a lot of network users. A network is made of a bunch of nodes that pass along packets. If a node is not able to keep up with the demands of the network and pass along packets fast enough, it will lead to a backlog of packets in their buffer queue. When the buffer becomes full, the node will drop incoming packets, causing packet loss. Just like this player struggling to return the balls to the table. Congestion is obviously not ideal. It clogs up the network, which affects latency, throughput, and availability. We use congestion control to try to solve this problem. However, it is not an easy problem to solve, as there are many factors that have to be taken into account. For example, the solution must be able to adapt to all scenarios: when there's no traffic, a lot of traffic, or when new users join the network. Moreover, the solution must also be fair and equitable to all users, such that it doesn't speed up a user's connection at the expense of another user. Lastly, it is a challenging problem because it requires different components of the network, whether it's the sender, receiver, or node to work together. Placing the entire burden of congestion control on one of these components will have different implications. There are definite trade-offs between these conditions for a solution, so ideally, we would want to minimize these trade-offs. The issue of congestion control is not just about preventing the sender from swamping a receiver with too much traffic. That is a much simpler problem to solve, and it is known as flow control. Congestion control is much more complex, since data travels through an entire network, and not just a wire connecting the sender to the receiver, with the potential of multiple senders and receivers. Congestion control is also concerned with finding ways to efficiently utilize the network alongside the other senders and receivers. Let's start with a simple idea. The reason why we have congestion is mainly due to each sender sending packets too quickly. So what if we just limit their send rate? Let's have the coach go easy on the player. But look, the player is bored. He is not maximizing his potential and pushing to his limits. In other words, when the send rate is too low, the network is not efficient as its throughput is bottlenecked below its capacity. This is a decent flow control method, but not a good congestion control method. A slight improvement would be to have the sender monitor the rate at which packets are dropped, and adjust the send rate accordingly. This is known as a rate-based congestion control method, and it is used for real-time applications like video streaming. But can we do better? Instead of waiting for an acknowledgement for the previous packet before sending the next, what if we sent multiple packets without waiting for the acknowledgements? This creates what we call a congestion window. The larger the window, the more packets we can send before receiving an acknowledgement. The sender monitors the acknowledgements. If all acknowledgement comes back, the sender can increase the window size. If there are missing acknowledgements, meaning a packet loss, the sender can decrease the window size. This is known as a feedback-based system because the sender makes adjustments based on externally observable behaviors of the network, like packet loss. A specific implementation of this strategy is called AIMD, short for Additive Increase Multiplicative Decrease. The sender gradually increases the window size for sending packets linearly until a packet loss is detected, to which it backs off rapidly by cutting the window size by half. AIMD is a congestion avoidance algorithm. It tries to prevent congestion by optimizing flow rates across the network. Moreover, it is an asynchronous, distributed algorithm with desirable stability properties. When a sender joins a network, it needs to start sending with a small window size to avoid overloading the network. However, with AIMD, it takes a while to ramp up from a small window size to meet the optimum network rate. Therefore, a separate phase before AIMD is used instead, called slow start. In this phase, the window size is increased with each received acknowledgement, essentially doubling the window size each round trip, resulting in an exponential increase. With two phases, the slow start and AIMD phase working together, we need a new threshold value that dictates when to transition from slow start to the AIMD phase. Again, let's revisit the table tennis analogy. Here the coach sends one ball, meaning the window size is 1. Initially the threshold is infinity. The true threshold will be discovered later. The coach will keep doubling the amount of balls he sends at once. The coach noticed the player only returned 6 of the 8 balls, indicating 2 packet losses. Hence the window size is now increased to 14, 8 plus 6. Multiplicative decrease kicks in for the threshold, therefore the threshold is now set to half of 14, which is 7. The window size is then reset back to 1, and the slow start phase restarts. Now the coach only sends 7 balls because the window size has reached the threshold. AIMD phase begins, where the window is increased only by 1 each round trip time until a packet loss occurs, to which slow start takes over again. The algorithm we just went through is known as TCP Tahoe. It is a very basic TCP congestion control protocol. But of course, we can improve upon this. Let's revisit how packet loss is detected. If an acknowledgement is not received after the timeout, it is classified as a packet loss. But is that the only way to detect packet losses? When a TCP packet is sent, it is labeled with a sequence number to identify it. When the receiver sends an acknowledgement for a packet, it also sends along the next requested sequence number. Now the ping-pong balls are labeled. Here the sender sent a packet with sequence number 1 and received an acknowledgement with sequence number 2. The coach sends ball number 2, 3, 4, 4, and receives ball number 3, 4, 5, As an acknowledgement,
3, 4, 5.
Now, what if this happens? What can you conclude from this scenario?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 2, 2, 2. I got 4 twos.
We definitely know that there is a packet loss, since only 4 out of the 5 balls got returned. We can also know that ball number 2 is the one that got lost, since all subsequent returned balls are all still requesting for 2. Therefore, when the sender sees 3 acknowledgements that were duplicates from before, the sender can then be confident that a packet, and which packet got lost. This detection scheme is known as the triple duplicate ACK, which allows for earlier detection of lost packets, much faster than waiting for the entire timeout period. The early detection allows for a fast retransmission of the packets. With this detection algorithm, a timeout can only occur if there are no triple duplicate acknowledgements. Therefore, if a timeout has occurred, we know something really bad has happened that caused the network to halt completely. Introducing the new and improved TCP Reno, which is essentially the same as TCP Tahoe, but with this added fast recovery method. With TCP Reno, when a triple duplicate ACK occurs, we go into the fast recovery phase, where both the threshold and congestion window are halved. Now, since the window size is met by the threshold, the AIMD phase continues. In the event of a packet loss due to a timeout, only the threshold is set to half the congestion window, and slow start begins with the congestion window set to 1, the same as TCP Tahoe. Introducing the new and improved TCP New Reno, which is essentially the same as TCP Reno, but with this added ability to detect multiple packet losses in the same congestion window. When a packet loss occurs due to triple duplicate ACK, TCP Reno would half the congestion window for each packet loss. For many packet losses, the effect is exponential. But for TCP New Reno, it does not immediately exit the fast recovery phase when the ACK for the retransmitted packet is received. It first needs to check if the ACK causes all packets transmitted in the congestion window to be cumulatively ACKed. If so, it can safely exit fast recovery towards congestion avoidance. If not, it classifies the ACK as a partial ACK, because there are multiple packet losses within the same congestion window, hence remaining at the fast recovery phase. Another popular variant of a TCP congestion control algorithm is TCP cubic, which is used by default in Linux, the operating system that powers most of the web servers on the internet. It improves upon TCP Reno by being more aggressive and deliberate when increasing the congestion window size to meet Wmax, which is the sending rate when congestion was last detected. Since it is more likely than not Wmax would stay the same, TCP cubic aims to maximize bandwidth utilization of the network by transmitting close to Wmax as much as possible. Another aspect of TCP cubic is its cubic growth behavior when passing Wmax. This allows the congestion window to plateau and stay at Wmax for longer, and when it surpasses Wmax, it'll start to rapidly increase to quickly find the next Wmax. Speaking of improvements, there is also a newer, better version of the slow start algorithm, called hybrid slow start, or high start for short. In traditional slow start, the exponential growth of the congestion window results in burst packet losses, since the congestion window often overshoots the path capacity by a significant margin. This new algorithm fixes the issue by reducing burst packet losses during slow start, resulting in better throughput and lower system load. The algorithm does so by finding better thresholds for transitioning to the congestion avoidance phase, based on heuristics like ACK spacings and round-trip delays. High start is also found as a default in the Linux operating system, paired together with TCP cubic. That's it for now. I hope this video helped you understand more about TCP and TCP congestion control. Thank you.